Welcome to the Tune In Radio U podcast. I am your host, Ruth, and with me today I have the NLP legend, that is Michelle Masters. She has been working with clients, students, and organizations since 1995. It's quite a stint to create change and remove blocks to success, love, health, and well-being. And now Michelle teaches and leads workshops all over the world, focusing on NLP and facilitating transformational workshops designed to create lasting changes for participants. She has spoken at conferences, on television and radio, on the topics of NLP and on using family constellations to resolve unconscious family generational entanglements, and has been featured in a documentary on coaching. Super cool. Michelle, welcome. Thank you so much for taking the time to be on my podcast. I really appreciate you allowing me to pick your brain.
And absolutely.
Yeah, I have no doubt my listeners will appreciate it as well. So first and foremost, get the really important stuff out of the way. What is it that you like to do for fun?
For fun?
Yeah, for fun.
Well, travel. So fun and work often overlap. Love to travel. And yeah, I mean, when I signed up for this particular life, I was promised travel and food. And so those were high on the list.
Yeah, I'm a massive fan of food. I understand that one. Travel, I feel like, yeah, I love travel as well. I feel like I'm a little constricted right now. How's travel for you right now?
Yeah, not in a physical body. I mean, I haven't gone anywhere other than dimensionally since March of last year. So, yeah.
Let's talk about that.
Okay.
Are you talking about astral travel by any chance? Or are you talking about something else, another kind of dimensional travel? Please elaborate.
Well, astral travel implies you're kind of leaving your body, the silver cord thing, right? And unless there are ways of accessing other dimensions that are, we're just going to dive into that stuff, huh? That are, usually it happens when I am not awake. So I have learned over the years to tell the difference between what's a dream and what's an experience that is easier to have when my conscious mind's not in the way. So usually the experiences happen when I am not awake. The first time it happened, I was living in New York. I was in my 20s, and the phone rang in the middle of the night. And had that not happened, I would not have known that I was someplace else. But I slammed back so fast. Like I actually slammed into my body, and I was sore. My hip was sore for 2 weeks because I crash landed so fast. But I was actually at a meeting, like a council meeting, and I realized this is a place I go all the time. It was incredibly familiar. It's like, oh yeah, we do this all the time. And like a city council, except with no competing agendas or, like an incredibly enriching, productive kind of collaboration. So in the last couple years, and especially in the last 9 months, I've actually been having and remembering some of those experiences without having to, crash land. So the veils are very thin right now.
They are. Yeah, I've heard that, and I feel that. I'm not privileged enough as of yet to experience something like what you're experiencing right now. I hope to. That would be amazing. But is this the council that the federation that I keep hearing about? It's like a large intergalactic that I feel like quite a few humans are a part of, have been selected to be a part of. Is that the same thing, or is this another council?
Well, there are many of those. There are many of those, but yes. And for a while, I always knew there was this council. I didn't know what it was, and I had this there was this young woman who was quite remarkable and she needed an NLP session. She had no money. And so someone convinced me to, let her do a chart. She was an astrologer, let her do a reading for you. And I had her do one for my partner, and I gave her a session. I almost never do trades because I get bombarded with requests for trades. But she was looking at my chart and she said, this looks like a starseed chart. And I told her about the council, and she said, this is very different from the usual talk I give. And it is the direction I'm heading into sharing more of this. So here we go.
Yes.
Anyway, yeah. Anyway, so she said, this is what I see in a starseed chart. And I told her about the council, and she said something. She said, is it the Council of Nine? And I'm like, I don't know what the Council of Nine is. I don't know what my council is, but no. But I know it's not that. And then later I was reading something about an intergalactic council, and I was like, oh, I got kind of ding, ding, dings on that. And there is, because what's going on right now on Earth is so phenomenal. It is such a big deal. The elevation, the acceleration of consciousness, the elevation of the energies and consciousness of the planet is such a big deal that, people have come from all over to help. There's an extraordinary amount of help on the planet right now, kind of like a galactic Peace Corps. I don't know if you're old enough to know what the Peace Corps is, but they would send people all over the world to help out in local communities that were struggling. And so anyone who's listening right now is either like one of the people who came to help, or one of the people who's actually in the process of this acceleration, this ascension. So, if you feel bad, like, oh, star seeds, I wish I was a star seed. Well, who's more important, the people who are running the marathon, or the people who are handing them bottles of water, right? So there's a lot of people here handing out bottles of water and towels from all over to help. But this is an amazing time. And I had been telling people for the last couple of years, because I was traveling all over, and I was telling people, I'm like, the acceleration of consciousness is off the charts. And in February of 2020, I have February 17th, I think 2020, I have a recording of me actually saying to somebody, I don't understand what's happening. The acceleration of consciousness is so massive, and on the surface, everything looks the same. I don't see how this is possible. And within 2 weeks, the whole world went like, I didn't imagine it that way, but I have since realized what an incredible manifestation the pandemic, because actually the way the world responded was such an overreaction actually to the reality of a virus that's not that dangerous. But the reaction of it, the way the entire world almost stopped, everybody got a massive timeout and a chance to reevaluate. All the momentum of all the old stuff that had been running came grinding to a halt. And everybody except those in the medical community got a bunch of time to kind of think on how, actually, what do I want? Is this what I want to continue? What do I want for the future? Not only that, but all things exist in a vibrational frequency, right? We exist. We can only see certain spectrums. We can only hear certain spectrums. We exist in a certain spectrum. This is true of all things. This is true of viruses as well. They exist in a vibrational spectrum. And so for all things, there are also vibrational spectrums where they do not exist, or where they do not thrive. And the vibrational spectrum where the coronavirus thrives is in what we would call the emotional vibration of fear and despair. And most diseases live in the vibration of fear, but this one is not just fear, but fear and despair. And which is why nursing homes, where I live, almost all the deaths there've been very few actually where I live, but they've almost all been in nursing homes. And which, gosh, would you rather be in the fear and despair of there, or would you rather be out and get a chance to really update And if that sounds callous, I don't mean it in that way at all. And so I think my partner and I got the precursor to this we were in teaching in Sydney in 2019, and I'd never had the flu, and I got a flu. I think it was the precursor. So I had a fever, which I hadn't had in 20 years. And I was due because I only get a fever when I need an identity update. That's the only time I get a fever. And I hadn't had one for like 20 years. So I was seriously due. And so I had a fever. I fainted while I was teaching. I felt weird for a day or two, and then done, like sorted. You know, it was not a big deal. My partner had the more traditional symptoms, but she was fine within 2 days. I find it fascinating too that one of the big hallmarks of this virus is a fever, because I really do think it's a planetary identity upgrade that's being offered. You can either update the software you've got, or you can leave the planet and get seriously get up to speed with the new energies. I had last year, I got this message from Microsoft that they were updating Windows, and Microsoft told me to get a new computer. And I was annoyed about that. I'm like, Microsoft, I'll just update. So I spent, I don't know, like $800 updating my old computer. And then I still had to get a new computer. And it's because at a certain point, it just cannot, the new stuff cannot be sustained by the old hardware anymore. And this is actually what, on a planetary basis, this is what's right now, is there's some stuff that just cannot be updated enough to keep up with the new energy that's coming in. And everybody else is getting a chance to really massively update. And so it is a phenomenal time. And the veils are really thin. And I get overwhelmed a lot with the beauty of it and the chance to be part of it in any way. You know, even if it is just handing out water bottles, like I'll take that, because it is so magnificent. And so I forget how we got off on that, but if you don't ask me something, I will keep talking for like an hour.
You're literally talking about one of my favorite subjects. So I'm happy to keep talking about, I'm happy for you to keep talking about. You obviously, I mean, if you're on a freaking council, Michelle, I feel like you have some important information to share with the world, right?
Well, and you know, the thing is, Ruth, what I'm starting to experience at such a visceral level is it's not even so much the information as the, you know, as trite as it is, that you know, love is really all there is. It is, we are, each and every one of us, so loved, so loved. Like, I cannot tell you how loved every one of you is. And you have never been alone. There has never been a time, and there never will be, when you were or will be alone or unloved. And it's the, I know it may not, if you're not feeling that, it's like blah, 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 you know. But that is that's what's I'm most noticing is I heard a quote recently that it made so much sense. It said, love is not an emotion, it's a higher state of consciousness. And because if anybody who has died and lived to talk about it, you know, will tell you that they let go of fear, they let go of like, you know, everything except love. Like, love is the one thing that transcends life and death, that transcends time. All other emotions are meant to come and go. Like, fear is meant to come and go. All of them are meant to come and go. They're information, they're feedback. Love is the only one that exists in a constant state. And it's not, when I say love, I don't just mean the, you know, like, oh, I love you. I mean, it is truly, it is a state of consciousness that imbues everything and everyone. So this is I've been teaching a workshop for, I was asked to create a workshop around money in 2006, which at the time, if you knew me then, was like asking Vladimir Putin to create a workshop on cooperative, like, community building, right? It was not the kind of thing you think, oh yeah, because I had zero relationship to money. What I wanted was a spiritual class. I was given a money class, and it has become one of the most spiritual things I do, because in addition to creating the class, I tried everything out on me. It changed a bunch of stuff. But what became clear to me was that money was one of the ways the universe was wanting to love us and bless us. But there are so many ways. And we're at a point now where so many of the old belief structures, so many of the societal structures, they just cannot sustain themselves. Like they're on their kind of last limbs. Even the planet physical body is transforming. It's why we're seeing so much weather stuff.
How transforming how?
Up, like the planet itself is rebalancing. And so you've seen the fires, the floods, I know you guys have had them, we've had them too. It's not just global warming. There is a major ascension process happening for the planet body and the people on it, actually for all life on it. So it's an astonishing time. And if you didn't know that, it could be incredibly disorienting and freaky, right? If you've ever remodeled anything in a house, you'll know that from almost the first day the remodel starts till almost the last day it's over, it's like utter chaos. Nothing is where it should be. Nothing works. Dust everywhere. Noise. You regret the day you agreed to it. You regret being born, and then it's over, and you have something brand new and beautiful, right? So we're in the middle of such a remodel. So it's an astonishing time. It is truly an astonishing time. And I've been working in the change field, like I said, since 1995. And the acceleration of change has been kind of like that over the time I've been teaching. And so at this point in time, any bit of effort people put in themselves to change, it's like the universe matches you threefold at least. Almost like one of those, what we have public radio, where if you make a donation now, this corporation will double it's like the universe will at least triple the energy on any change and any expansion you sign up for right now.
That makes so much sense. I literally feel like I've gone from, down here to up here in the space of a year.
Yes. Yeah.
And I've just been like voraciously learning and, doing anything to grow.
Mm-hmm.
Because I felt like that was, it's almost like I was getting pushed.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, the waves of change are so strong. You can either surf with them or you can get beat up by them, but there's no stopping it at this point. The humanity's consciousness has hit a critical mass. It's not going to be undone. It's not going to, this acceleration, this ascension, this elevation of consciousness is not going to be undone. So the question is, like, are you going to enjoy the ride? Right? Or are you going to get banged around in the waves? But it's happening.
Yeah. So what is, when you have these council meetings, like, what is your purpose exactly? I mean, is it just but is it to do the work that you're doing and maybe spread, the word, like what you're telling me right now? Is it to spread that, like spread information, or is it to just support people along this time, or what is it exactly?
Well, so it's hard to explain how these work because it's not like, you go and you sit down at some etheric table for an hour, and you hash things out.
Yeah, what is it like? Can you try and explain?
Well, you're out. It's outside of 3D time space,
Yeah.
and so an eternity can happen in an instant, and an instant can take an eternity. So um, it is really hard to define the experience of the fifth through the 12th dimension in three-dimensional terms. Like, it's hard for my head to even go there. Like, my head wants to go away and like have a nap. And a lot of times when I actually a lot of times in that big when the frequencies of especially eighth dimension and beyond, when those start running, like I'll often just like go right out, because it's the three-dimensional hardware is really not well designed for it.
Mm.
So it is very hard to translate. I have known for a long time that, so my wheelhouse has been to help teach transformational workshops, workshops that give people tools for, especially people in a physical body, because although we do exist, we're all like cosmic multidimensional beings, all of us. Like, it's not like, oh, I exist in these dimensions and you poor people stuck here. No, we all exist in all those dimensions. Some of us are just a lot more aware. It's a lot more fluid for some of us, and some people have really committed to a dimension, right? You can't necessarily fault somebody for that. We do like commitment. If you're committed in the third dimension, though, there's an experience of physicality. There's neurology. There's some legacy reptilian neurology that we have. It's the really old, the parts of us that are safety system, right? Which is not designed to update. Unlike your phone, your neurology is not designed to update itself. It is designed to stabilize. Like, it gets laid down in the first 3 to 6 years, and then it is designed to stabilize and keep stabilizing itself, so that your brain and your beliefs and your neurology are designed to stabilize. Your consciousness is designed to expand. So let's see what hilarious hijinks like ensue, right? When we give people this incredibly expanding consciousness and neurology and bodies that are designed to try and stabilize what was going on in the first 3 to 6 years. So a lot of my work, at least up until now, has been utilizing these change patterns that actually help the neurology update, so that beliefs can update right down at the level of your neurology, so that your body can never update as fast as your consciousness, but we can at least close the gap to a degree where people start to have more and more of like what they want and who they want to be, instead of living at the effect of like beliefs and patterns that got laid down before they were even old enough to control their bladder, right? Like, that's not right. It's not right that your beliefs about yourself and the world, most of them were there before you could even control when your own bodily functions. So that has been a lot of the work I've done over the years, as well as working with something called unconscious family loyalties, family constellation work, if you know what that is.
No,
And I
actually,
started.
I was going to ask you about that.
Sure. And then in 2008, I started adding in more quantum ways of working, because humans exist both in physical bodies and they exist quantumly, and they are part of families. And so that there is this glorious, all these things are happening simultaneously as a human being. And so there are some predictable ways, at least up until recently, that people have gotten stuck. And so a lot of my work has been to help people get unstuck, so that they can have like a really good experience of being alive, a happy, thriving experience where they don't have to suffer, they don't have to struggle. you know, changing blocks around money, around love, around self-worth, around health, so that people can actually thrive. So that has been my work. And helping people to experience what's possible for them, and then actually start to live that.
Mm.
So that has been my work. And that because of the expansion that's happening, because of the acceleration now, there are a lot more tools on the table than there were even just a couple years ago. Because it would have stuff that you can get away with now was too much a few years back. Like it was too fringe. But a lot of the stuff that was considered fringe just a few years ago is like not necessarily mainstream, but so much more available, so much more acceptable. I mean, you know, when I started teaching transformational workshops, and I would go to I would go to some places that were financial centers in the world, like Zurich and Hong Kong and Singapore, places that were kind of old school financial centers. And then in the last couple of years, I noticed going to those places, like the attitude and energy of the people coming was so different around what they were wanting and how they were wanting to thrive and how they were wanting to experience and thrive and experience money and making money, as opposed to the way it had been before. It's like, if it's different in Singapore and Zurich and Hong Kong, you can imagine what it's like in California, where I am, right? I mean, but it's a marker of how global this change has been, that I could go to those places and I could talk about beliefs and I could talk about the expansion of consciousness, and I could work with people on updating their sense of their worth and their value and their identity, and not just get away with it, but they would be like, tell us like more. They like more. Yes, they wanted more. So it's an amazing time.
That's beautiful. So are you when you say you've learned more quantum ways to help people, what are you using exactly? What are these quantum things that you've learned?
Learning is almost a misnomer. I went to a matrix energetics workshop with Richard Bartlett and Melissa Joy, and even more than learning, it was permission to access
Because is it stuff that we already know, right? Is it?
Well, it depends first off on who the we is, who's asking. It's hard to say. So when I am teaching, there are times when, because I never teach alone, I always have help. There are times when it's almost like, if you've ever had binoculars, you know, when you go to focus them and it's like, no, and then all of a sudden everything lines up. Okay. So there are times when, in a moment, everything will line up, and I'll give you an example. I was teaching a money magic workshop. The change patterns in the money magic workshop, they actually revised the wiring in the body. And so after a change pattern, people need time to integrate and let their kind of tanks fill back up before you do the next one. So I've kind of structured it. Well, it'll be a big change piece, and then there'll be something that's necessary and important, but is not putting more change in. It's giving their tanks also time to fill up. So like by the time the next change piece comes around, their tanks have refilled, etc. This one class really needed this one change piece. It was clear. It was like 4 o'clock on a Saturday afternoon. We were supposed to be done at 6. And it was clear they needed they needed this change piece. We had just done a huge change piece. So had I tried to shove that change piece in, it would have come right back out. Almost like if you're too full and you eat more, your system starts to spit it back out. I felt into when it would be available for people to change next. And it was like about 7 o'clock, because we had just done a big thing. And it's like about 7 o'clock, they'll be ready for the next piece. I did not want to stay there till 7 o'clock. Okay. But it seemed like a good idea that they have this piece. And it was one of those moments, everything lined up. And so I moved time. And I told them, I said, look, I'm going to move time. I'm going to pull 7 o'clock into now. Now, if you asked me to move time right now, I couldn't do it. It's not a thing like, hey, kids, look what I can do. But because it was relevant, because it was needed, because it was appropriate, I absolutely knew I could do it. And I did. I moved it in. And the fun part was watching the class, because as one, their entire head snapped back. And this one woman just blurted out, that should not have worked. But we did the change piece. And then I put it back where it was supposed to be in time, so that I moved all that then back to 7 o'clock. And the whole class went, because it was a freaky experience for them, right?
I can imagine.
It's not the only time that's happened, but it only, like I said, it only lines up when there's an appropriate need for it.
Yeah.
I mean, the laws of physics are actually negotiable within reason, but there has to be a reason. So
you're talking quantum time, obviously. This is all quantum level stuff. No.
Well,
I'm oversimplifying, maybe.
I'll tell you a different story, and then I'll let you decide. Okay. So I'm careful about how much I talk about time, because actually the way we experience time as a linear progression, a constant, a linear progression that moves in one direction. It moves forward and it moves as a constant. That's how we experience time. Any physicist worth their salt will tell you that's actually not how time works. So one particular weekend, I had been on a rant about time. Time doesn't exist. Time doesn't exist. Time doesn't exist. And so that night I went home. I still had another day to teach. I slept for what felt like 8 hours. I woke up. I'd been asleep an hour. Slept up what felt like another 8 hours. I woke up. So this was midnight, 1 o'clock, 2:30, 3:30, 4:30, 4 o'clock. Now, when that happened, because I always check the time. My mom does it too. Who the heck knows what that's about? But it's not like it had been 4:30 and now it was 4 o'clock. So I thought, did I get that wrong? I'm like, no, the little red numbers said, I went back to sleep. I woke up 5:30. Okay. Went to sleep again, woke up 5 o'clock. So when I was teaching, I got up. When I finally got up, all my watches had stopped except one. So I wore that one. Within about half an hour, it stopped working. I have, at that point, I was starting to get, it's disorienting. It is disorienting when we don't have in that place. And so I was ready for time to restabilize. And so, I said, I'm ready for that. Even though it's an illusion, I'm ready for that illusion to restabilize, because it is convenient. Because it's disorienting the other way. And the next time I looked down, my watch had started working again. Now it was still an hour and a half off. So I thought at the next break, I need to fix it. I finished teaching. I got to the next break about 40 minutes later. I looked and now it was only 20 minutes off. But I reset it. In that workshop, I have some pieces I always do and other pieces that I only do as needed. In that workshop, I did more than I'd ever done. I did pretty much everything I had, and we were done at 4 o'clock instead of 6 o'clock. So was that quantum? I'll leave it to you to decide. We have in our house multiple timelines running simultaneously. So things will happen. We have multiple timelines running in our house simultaneously. I'll just leave it there. And it's not kind of quantum-y. I mean, it's not kind of like, ooh, I have a feeling. It's like, no, there are multiple things happening simultaneously that are not happening simultaneously. So
I feel so much clearer now. Thank you.
this is the problem with trying to explain this. But so let me give you an example. I don't know if the examples help.
No, they do. They do help.
Okay. Yeah. We have 4 cats and a dog. We have a 2-story house. They love to chase each other. Dog chases one of the cats. That same cat loves to chase the dog. Cats chase each other. So when they chase each other upstairs, honestly, they're small animals. It sounds like elephants. I don't know how they do it, but we'll hear the stampede, the thunder of their little hooves, and then someone will come, both of them will come flying down the stairs. Like, we know the sound, it happens every day. In the past couple months, there has been like 3 times when we've heard the, ruckus, we've heard them thundering, we've heard them run down the stairs, but then we don't see anybody come, into the room, and we'll realize all 5 of them are sleeping peacefully around us. Okay.
I just got chills on the side.
Yeah. It's happened more than once. And we know it's not like, oh, there's ghost kitties, because we know this sound, because we see, they do it all the time. They come flying down the stairs. So yeah, we know exactly what that sound is. And my stepson, when he comes home, he has the way he opens a certain door has it's a very specific sound. Like, it's much quieter than when my partner does it. He's got a very specific sound when he opens the door. And a lot of times it's just me here. And on the days when he comes here, I'll hear that sound sometimes very clearly once or twice before he gets here. But on the days when he doesn't come, never hear it. So one time, and I'll tell you this one more story. I went to get my keys. My keys live in a little bowl on a shelf right near the door. That's where my keys go. I come in, my keys go there. They stay there till I leave. It's the key place. It's a bowl. You can't really miss them.
Yeah.
I went to leave and my keys were not where they should be. I'm like, there's nobody else in the house. And so I looked around, but it's like, that's where the keys live. I finally did something else. Half hour later, I went and they were back in the bowl. Nobody else is in the house. House is locked up. Nobody else is here. And it occurred to me at the time, I'm like, I think actually some other version of me was using the car. Or I had just jumped forward to when I was already gone or back. So I had a phenomenal reading with this Akashic reader. She's astonishing. And she, the stuff that comes through in her readings is stuff that actually gets verified. Like, there's confirmation from the outside world. And I had not, I had not said anything about this, and in the reading it came through, they said there are multiple timelines running simultaneously in your house. I'm like, I know. But thank you for confirming. Because otherwise you could feel a little crazy. I mean, once we realized what it was, I was fine with it.
Yeah.
But it is a little disorienting, but it's fine.
So does this just happen in your house? Does it happen in other people's houses? Is it happening everywhere, or is it specific to you because maybe you're more open to this stuff and you've got, access to other realms and other dimensions and all that sort of stuff? Like,
I think it depends on the person, the people. I think it happens more than people realize, but they write it off to other things. If they have a strong belief structure that that's not possible, then they will, there's something called your reticular activating system. It's a part of your brain that is designed to look for what it's already looking for and designed to screen out everything that doesn't match it. So the example I use almost all the time, because almost everybody's had this experience, is if you're thinking about getting a new car and you decide, you know what, I think I'd like a green Jaguar because you've got more money than you actually need and you don't care if your car runs. Overnight, the roads and parking lots of your town or city fill up with green Jaguar. Suddenly they're everywhere, right? So one of two things happened. Either overnight, everybody went out and bought your car, or your brain is noticing it now in a way it didn't before. Pregnant women tell me the world is filled with pregnant women. I never see them, but I'm told that. And so it is actually, it's not just, we don't see things as we are. We see the world through filters, and most of what our brain used to filter is our beliefs. So if people have a belief that they have to work hard to make money, then they will get lots of evidence. They will see lots of evidence for that. Everything that contradicts that will be almost invisible to them. So the stronger the belief, the more evidence we will allow in for it, and the more contrary evidence we will screen out. So beliefs about money, about relationship, about health, those act as filters. So if somebody has a filter that, well, that's just a load of hooey, then their system will either screen out those events, no, that didn't just happen, or it will it will look for another way to account for it. Because we do like our beliefs to be true.
Yes, we do, don't we?
Yeah. Yeah, because that way our world feels like it makes sense, and that, that gives us a sense of control and agency, and that's important. It's important to have a sense of control and agency, and so we will get our beliefs confirmed. Now, nobody has just one belief about anything. All of us have contradictory beliefs because of how beliefs are formed, and I could tell you that, but that's a good, 5-minute to 10-minute rant. But we don't get just one belief about anything. We don't have just one belief about ourselves, about our worth, we can have contradictory beliefs. Oh, I'm okay. Oh no, I'm worthless piece of, kangaroo droppings. You fill in the blank. But there is nothing inside our system that says, wait, those are contradictory. Those can't both be true. The way these get laid down is the system accepts both as true and valid and maintains them both. So if you have some beliefs that, life is magical and there are many dimensions, and some beliefs that, no, let's get real, this is how things work, then you'll get kind of a mix of experience. So what you experience in your daily life is sort of the net out of your beliefs about yourself, about life, about the world, etc.
Yeah. How does one go about changing certain beliefs that don't serve them?
Well, this is the whole reason I have a job, right? I mean, I this is what I do all day, every day with people, either one-on-one or in workshops. It's not the kind of thing that actually you can do on your own very well. So when I have stuff up, I've been doing this work 25 years at least. When I have stuff up, I go see somebody else.
Yeah.
I do have like, and I don't say this to be self-serving, but um, I have my Money Magic book, which you can get on Kindle for like, I don't know, it's like $6.50 Australian. I mean, it's cheap.
It's very cheap. I've got it.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah. There are change patterns in there that are, even though it says they're about money, they can be used for anything. But those are designed to actually revise stuff. So if somebody needs change, wants change, but they don't want to work one-on-one, you can, that's a way to jumpstart some change, is do the patterns in there, because it actually does work all the way down at a neurological level as well as a quantum level. The book has both in it. The explicitly it has the neurological piece, like how to rewire stuff. And so it's a good place to start. I kept it affordable because I wanted to make sure it was available.
Yeah, for sure.
At least in the Kindle format. Yeah.
Well, I mean, what's the percentage of people around the globe that are finding money hard to come by?
Well, yeah, it's been way too hard for way too long. People sacrifice their health. They work too hard. They work too much. They do work they don't enjoy. They sacrifice relationships, times with their kids, their health. I mean, so much gets caught up in what they think they have to do or be to have what they want. And almost none of that is actually true. It's just old paradigms, old belief structures. And so the single most common thing that I hear from people who've taken Money Magic is they'll say, I didn't even realize our income doubled or tripled, and we didn't know till we did our taxes because we weren't doing anything differently. Or they'll say, out of the blue. I heard this phrase so much, I created a whole YouTube video about it, because people would say to me, out of the blue, this thing after the course, out of the blue, these people called me out of the blue. I got this contract, I got this raise out of the blue, etc. Because when the beliefs shift, then the reality has to shift to match.
It comes down to frequency, doesn't it? Like vibrational level. Like once your vibration changes, other things that match that particular vibration are attracted. Is that how that works?
Yes, and we don't all change at the same time. So where there's so let's say some of your consciousness expands, but there are still old belief structures running. So some part of you knows it's not supposed to be hard, and yet you keep experiencing. So that's actually when it's the most miserable for people, is when some part of them has reached a point where it doesn't have to be this way, and yet it keeps being this way. The disparity between what part of them knows and what the other part is generating just becomes like unbearable. When people are just sure, well, this is just the way it is, they kind of give up and plod along, but they're not in the kind of, but I know this is different.
Yeah. So what would you say to people that are just kind of starting to wake up, starting to do some work on themselves, maybe feeling a little lost right now because the world is so confusing and there's a lot of stuff going on that are blowing people's minds right now, and maybe they feel like there's more to what they can see, but they don't know, like they're at that stage where it's like they're just kind of getting it but not quite there yet. What would be your best piece of advice, best tip for them to kind of maybe have a little bit more ease moving through this time?
Yeah. First thing I would say is, if you're feeling lost, it's because we've never been here before. Like, this is a whole brand new thing. So nobody's got a roadmap for it. If you're feeling lost, you're paying attention, right? If you're noticing you're not motivated by the things that used to motivate you, that's because the whole paradigm for what's possible and available and what matters is shifting. So, and especially the last few months were a real below this, well, on the non-physical plane was incredibly busy the last few months. And so if you were tired, really tired and unmotivated, we're in May now of 2021. I don't know when people will be hearing this, but if like January through April, you were uncharacteristically tired and unmotivated, that's because there's a whole lot shifting below your or outside of your conscious awareness would be a better way to say it than below. It's going to feel like more is moving and available, I think, over the next few months. It's possible the world might do a whole nother round of shutdown. If, come fall, winter, that's possible. If so, it's just going to be another layer getting kind of pulled up and cleared out. What I would suggest to people is it's an incredibly good time to revise old beliefs about the world, about yourself, about what you're worth, like how much good you deserve. My partner and I we're trying to find something on. We're looking for something to watch on Netflix, and I was looking through. It was like we got on a certain. I had watched something that was actually very optimistic, but it was like, because you watch this, you might be interested in. In every single one I clicked on was some fear-based dystopian kind of, dark forces, post-apocalyptic, like there must have been 50 of them. And I have been teaching change long enough to know that when a big change happens for a person, when their identity significantly changes, they freak out. There's a term for it. It's called the illusion of release, because it feels like they're dying, and not just a metaphoric death. Like I've had people say, no, I think I'm actually, like, call 911. And it's like, no, it's an illusion of release. It's your identity shifting. And when that shifts, it feels like a death. Like, no, but we're really, I understand, because it feels so real. And I think as a planet now, so many people are going through such a shift that it does feel like, terrible death and terrible things are going to happen, when actually what's happening is the birth of so much of what we've been wanting. So we're not dying, we're actually moving into an entirely new identity. So, be not afraid. But it's a really good time to get old ideas about yourself, like ways that you feel like worthless or not enough or not deserving, to get those updated. The ways that you think, there's not enough for everybody, because there's more than enough for everybody. Ways that you think you have to struggle or work hard or prove your worth. Like, these are all really outdated beliefs that are not doing anybody any good anymore. The ideas that there's danger out there, that we're not safe. This is so not true. I mean, if you believe that enough, you will get it to be true, but it is so not necessary. So this is an incredible time to start noticing all the things that you would like to be different, and start thinking about what would you like to experience instead.
Beautiful. Yes.
Yeah.
Wholeheartedly agree with that. Michelle, where can people find you if they want to work with you, or any one of your books or workshops? Or
Yeah, I just so far have the one book. It's going to be a while before that quantum stuff that's not implicit. So, but my website is michellemastersnlp.com. The book is available. There's a link on my website, or you can go to Amazon. There's a Kindle version and a hardback version. If you'd like the audio version, I would get the audio version from audiobooks.com. The audio version of the book has the change patterns with theta wave inducing music in the background, which really helps your system to integrate the changes. And so rather than trying to read the change pattern and then do it, you can just listen. It's me in the book. So if my voice annoys you, then you might want to stick to the print copy. But the change patterns, then you can just kind of, let yourself kind of go along for the ride while you're listening. So I have a lot of people say they like to put it on when they go to bed at night. So that's an option, but that's at audiobooks.com. So the book, it looks, because there is another book called Money Magic. Somebody else had named this class and it had traction by the time I knew this other woman had written, so the book kind of looks like this.
Mm-hmm.
And it's me, Michelle Masters. If it's the other lady, Deborah somebody, I mean, her book may be very good. I don't know. I haven't read it. She seems like a nice lady, but if you're looking for mine, that's what it looks like. So
I have I did the audio version myself, and I would put it on during the day, lay on the couch, and then just kind of in and out of napping. It was great.
Oh, okay.
I love
Okay,
it.
good.
I think your voice is quite soothing, so it just kind of lulled me into this like nice little state, and I'm sure it was working its magic on me, because I definitely feel I mean, I have done a lot of different type of work of late,
I believe you.
but it was one of the things that has brought me to where I am today. So for that, I really appreciate you. So thank you, Michelle.
Oh, you're so welcome.
And yeah, the session that we had, that you and the one-on-one we had, was quite mind-blowing for me as well. So I highly recommend Michelle to whoever's listening or watching right now. She's incredible at what she does, and I definitely put credit at least some of where I am today to Michelle's work. Michelle, thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it, and I absolutely, like, my chest area has been warm and open this whole time I've been chatting to you. It's been quite incredible. And yeah, just a mind-blowing conversation. I've loved every second. So thank you so much.
I'm so glad. Thank you for asking, Ruth.